Okay, hear me out. So what if you take the Little Red Riding Hood, put her in a Malaysian setting, and let her story during the beginning of the pandemic? You will get Hamra and a Jungle of Memories. So this is the latest middle grade release by Hanna Alkaf. She usually alternates between young adult and middle grade. And I went to 2 of her sessions, one in lit books. I mean, at this point, she's like a regular. And another one at Elite. Since my first Hanna Alkaf read, I know that she will be the author that I will just get anything that she put out. I don't even need to read the synopsis because I know it's gonna be lit. And if you want to know my thoughts about her previous 3 books, you can check out the video. All of her books have been excellent. Big fan. But still, check out that video. She is one of those Malaysian authors that deserves so much attention, and I will put the link to the full session at Elite in the description if you're interested in watching. It's actually pretty emotional to the point where Hanna actually teared up, and the lady sitting next to me actually cried.
I know, I'm getting emotional too, I'm so sorry. I'm trying very hard not to cry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to get as personal as it did, but Hamra is a deeply personal book for me for many reasons, and this is one of them.
It is in fact actually, however, a total opposite to our session at Lit Books because it was hilarious as always.
Anyone wants to sit up front? Now that we said that.
In this video, I will put snippets of the audio recording that I got in Lit Books because I am not lucky enough to get video recordings. I forgot to bring my camera this time. It tells the story of Hamra, our Red Riding Hood. Her name literally means red, as she recklessly broke traditional taboos out of spite. She encounters the were-tiger instead of the original wolf, and made a deal with a quote-unquote devil to make the were-tiger human. And that, in exchange, she will get her grandmother well again. Her grandmother has Alzheimer's. Together with her friend Elias, they embark on this journey across the folklores and legends of Langkawi and find the power of friendship. So while the story really sounds like your typical children's adventure, but it is surprisingly mature. And that's the beauty of Hanna Alkaf's books. It's the children's book or teenage books, but it also resonates with adults.
And so I don't believe that certain topics should be taboo. I think that we should be thinking about how we present those topics to certain age groups, but I don't think they should be off limits. Because when you start erecting barriers around things is when children and teenagers immediately start figuring out how to overcome those barriers without telling you they're going to do it. That's just how they are.
It doesn't shy away from deep stuff. While it is about children, it is also about children losing their childhood towards the oncoming maturity. You don't remember your name? Elias asked in disbelief. It is hardly surprising, the Bayan said. Just as we leave most of our childhood memories behind us as we grow older, so too did the beast shed his old skin when he put on this new one. It is, in a way, kind of death, just as the loss of our old selves are kind of death. Nothing in this book is wasted. Every single thing means something. Hamra during the pandemic feels this suffocation in her own home with her parents busy with volunteer work and her grandmother's Alzheimer, and that she couldn't have one happy day even on her birthday. So on the surface, you can easily judge her as a spoiled brat because she often complains about her situation, but she's a child. Like a helpless child in a helpless situation with a universal problem that every single one of us experienced during the pandemic. While her parents are good people helping others, they also fail to notice her starving for love and freedom.
If you've read all my books, Hamra is probably, they call her unlikable, I think. In a lot of ways, she's prickly, she's angry and she's frustrated. A lot of people find that unlikable. but it was a way to process my own feelings through the pandemic and the way my children were processing the pandemic. And so, and for that reason, it could not have been any other way.
She's also at the same time tries to hide it because she wants to be a responsible kid for her parents who are clearly working hard. Children don't understand why all of a sudden their lifestyles are changing drastically. There is no button in them to turn the understanding capacity on and off. Her feelings are understandable and relatable. Heck, I was unemployed for months and it drove me crazy. Hamra was alone. And for the first time, she felt alone. Hamra was never the type of kid who cried all that much. She often envied her mother, who cried when she was sad, when she was happy, when she was angry, whenever she felt any strong emotions, really. It seemed to Hamra like a better way to be than the alternate, which was Hamra's way, forcing all the strong emotion down until she could pretend they were no longer there, and then dealing with the consequences later. That was part of why the flames that flickered within her burned so bright these days. They fed on all these feelings that festered inside her, longing to get out. But now she could feel a burning in her throat, and that familiar prickling feeling rising up behind her eyelids. So she knelt at the feet of the praying man, and when she closed her eyes and bowed her head, tears began to fall as easily as if they'd just been waiting for her to open the dam. And once she began, she could not stop. There are already so many stories, both serious and smutty, on the pandemic. Do watch that video of me reading Kissing the Coronavirus, it's hilarious. But not often talks about children's POV when they're also one of the majorly impacted groups. Like one day they were just in school, the next day the whole schedule changed. One day they could play with their friends, and the next day they can't even leave their homes. Even worse for those who can't even see their family members or those in essential services like what Hamra's parents are doing.
When I wrote Hamra, I wrote her specifically with the intention of validating children and the sense of loss that they had, that they were dealing with, but also letting them see that it was okay to feel all these emotions.
And some people just don't deal with it well, which is why mental health cases rose like crazy these past few years. And this is just the story of Hamra giving in to her frustrations as she broke the taboo in the jungle. The rules are simple. If you're a child who grew up near Malaysian jungles, you've probably heard them all your life. The grown-ups say them often, drilling them into your head so you won't forget. Always ask permission before you enter. Don't challenge what you can't see. Never use your true name. Never take what isn't yours. If you hear someone calling your name, never ever look behind you. And usually, Hamra was careful. Usually, she listened. Unfortunately, this year was not a usual year, and today was not a usual day. These are something that all Malaysian kids, at least those who grow up in the village or often went to the village, would know. Well, my parents are not the superstitious kind, but my cousins are. So whenever we go to the family orchard or the nearby river, when we pass by a large tree or whatever, my cousins will remind me to ask for permission or something. Although today we do understand that these rules are in place for us to mind our behaviors. Others include don't go out at night, otherwise the ghost with long nipples will hide you underneath your boobies. Yeah, it's a thing. But this is about an angry, impulsive, frustrated and scared child. She's ready to take the chances of breaking the rules. While I heard some people find her frustrating, the author has established very early on how angry she is with the circumstances that she's in. During the beginning, I do feel the frustrations alongside her. It brings back so much memories for why can't I still find a job? What is wrong with me? Is my experience and achievements not enough? It makes me second guess myself. With kids, you really can't expect them to make rational decisions as adults do. And their brains are still developing. Heck, if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that our brains only finish developing by 25. As an adult, trust me, we make bad decisions. Terrible decisions. The story is about the growth that you go through with this character. Whether you're a kid or a were-tiger that is often stereotyped as a villain.
I think people like it when things are neat and black and white and fit into tidy boxes. But the truth is that most of us occupy the gray. We're neither black nor white. We're sort of some combination of both. I'm just trying to reflect the world that we are all living in and that we're all familiar familiar with, and that does mean writing the grey. And yeah, I do believe in most cases, not all, but in most cases, that most people are deserving of second chances. At least one more chance.
Everyone has the capacity to change, and the question is whether you desire that change and whether the change is for better or for worse. Travelers often come to the night market to look for their heart's desire, and we welcome them, however big or small those desires may be, because everyone deserves the opportunity to see a dream realized. And the night market is where you will find the means to do just that. However, we cannot abide those whose desires are too dark, whose hearts burn black within their chests. For dreams to some are nightmares to others, and the gatekeepers must decide your fate so as to not see our world burn. There are plenty of cultural references. Hanna even says that this book is actually made for Malaysians. So if you are Malaysian, familiar with plenty of cultural references, you will enjoy it very, very much.
There are definitely Easter eggs in here that only if you're Malaysian, you're really going to understand. Like there's a part where somebody refers to I'm not your fairy godmother, one thing, and then suddenly somebody's on a quest and you'll have to find 7 hearts of germs and 7 trays of whatever. I remember in copy edits, my copy editor was like, hearts of germs? Is that what you really meant to say? I'm like, no, this is an Easter egg, only Malaysians are going to understand this. So that part was fun actually. That part was just putting these little things that I know only you guys would understand. Was actually really fun for me to do, because I'm like, nobody else is going to get this. Absolutely nobody else is going to get this.
Even if you're not familiar, hey, what better way to learn and be Malaysiafied? When us Asian kids reading werewolves and vampires, we don't need anyone to explain to us. So there's the Nenek Kembayan, the Langsweir, the Bunyan, all the Langkawi legends, because according to Hanna, Langkawi is the most legend-filled place in Malaysia that contributes to its allure and of course the tourism industry.
Langkawi was an island that is so that runs basically on stories, on tourism, basically had to shut down. It was basically isolated. There was nothing going in, there was nothing going out, no boats, no planes, nothing. So I was lucky enough to have a friend who lives there, who had long Zoom calls with me as I asked her the most random questions, like what was this street like if you walked down it, or if I need a place for my main character to get to, I need to get her from here to here, is it likely that she would use this mode of transport, and how long do you think that would take?
Hanna is always known to take the very Malaysian thing and give it a very fun twist, just like how she takes the Pelicit and the Girl and the Ghost, which is normally an evil entity, into a very child-friendly character, sort of. She does the same with Langsweir, a classic female ghost in Malay culture, and made her hilarious.
Cik Lang.
Except, well, the Bunyan is still sketchy. There's also a supernatural Pasar Malam, like a Malaysian version of Diagon Alley in Harry Potter. If anything you buy, it's meant you're bartering with something else. The world building surrounding the local attraction of Langkawi is really fascinating.
Like you said, the fairy market is kind of a trope. It exists in a lot of different fantasy, but a lot of the fantasy that we get is Western fantasy, and so the vision of the fairy market is different, even when they are sort of cribbing it from other cultures. It's different. But I wanted to write a Pasar Malam. I wanted to have a Pasar Malam that mirrors the Pasar Malams that are always in Langkawi, and always here, everywhere basically. I wanted to write something that felt very familiar to you, but had all these fantastical elements that you wouldn't obviously find in the regular Pasar Malam unless I have been to all the wrong ones. And I think part of the fun in writing the Pasar Malam is also writing the people who are going to the Pasar Malam. Because obviously in Malaysia, in Malaysian folklore, there's plenty of people that you're going to find, or things, creatures, that you'll find at the Pasar Malam that you're not going to find in real life. And so just the idea of orang gergasi trying to make their way through these stalls at the same time as all these talking creatures. At one point I had inserted a scene where there was a mouse deer boasting about his exploits at a warung, and that was
kedai kopi sang kancil.
Yes, correct. So that was my sang kancil insert in there. Again, it's like all these little Easter eggs that I could just like put in there. That was really fun for me. Because I knew Malaysians would pick up on it and be like, haha, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, that's for you and me. It was so much fun to write. The night market scene and subsequently the Warung Between Worlds. If you've read the book, The Warung Between Worlds, that's one of my favorite bits of the book. And in fact, at some point, I would like to do a whole like story that's centered around that Warung, because I think there's a lot of stories there. But maybe not quite yet.
If you're already sick of vampires, fairies, and werewolves, this will be a really breath of fresh air. And also, if you ever want to visit the island of Langkawi, you will now have a new depth of appreciation to it. I like everything about the story. It's funny, it's well paced, it's touching, it's very colorful. But if there's one con that I can point out is that I find the ending feels a bit rushed. I mean, like, look at this book. For me, I think this book is the thickest that I've got from Hanna so far, so I guess that they have to cut it some bits. It's not a bad ending at all. I won't spoil it, but it's like, oh, it's actually like this, and then everyone gets what they want. The end. I just wish that they let the emotions linger a little bit longer. Just a thought. So to conclude, this is another excellent work by Hanna. Like I mentioned, I don't think she can write a bad book. This is the funniest from her. Reading this in the silence of my room, it feels like I traveled to Langkawi for a few hours. I think this is Hanna Alkaf's book that I laughed out loud the most. The book is genuinely funny. I would like to give a ranking to Hanna Alkaf's book so far. So number 1, I still rank The Girl and the Ghost, which is my ultimate favorite. Number 2 is The Weight of Our Skies. I put Hamra in the Jungle of Memories number 3, and the last one is The Queen of Tiles. Even my least favorite of her books are not even bad books. It's still very well written. It has a really fresh concept. And I only rank them based on my own personal preferences. But objectively, they are well written. I can recommend you on that. Anyway, I would like to end this video with my favorite quote/scene. What is what like? Being human. I do not remember. It has been too long. And you are scared. And I am scared. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard. There's a lot of messy, uncomfortable feelings involved, like anger and sadness and hurt and guilt. There are also so many beautiful moments, and there's friendship, and there's love. A lot of love. Mainly, I guess, when I think about being human, I think about trying to live a good life, trying to be a good person, trying to take care of each other, and sometimes you like the results, and sometimes you don't. But there's a lot of magic and wonder in the trying. But you have those things, friendship and love and things worth trying for. I have spent my whole life in the pursuit of power, and I have sacrificed my world for it. Sacrificed love and friendship. And I have done so many terrible things, things that hurt me to remember. And now, what if at the end of all this, I am left with nothing? Well, for one thing, you have friends now. Me and Elias, we're your friends. Maybe even Malor. Well, that's one pretty big maybe. Really? We are friends? Even after the promise? My oppa is really old, and she keeps going back into her past and losing herself in her memories. And that's really hard for the rest of us. Because it's like she's go back to a completely different time and place, one where we can't even reach her. But it's hard to get too mad or upset about it, because those memories are where her true self lives, you know? Not the person she is when she's with us, all disoriented and confused. They're the best of who she is. So I guess what I'm saying is, you shouldn't think of this as what you're losing. You should think of it as all the things you gain when you go back to being your true self. The best bits. It's hard to say we're friends right now because I haven't seen your true self. I only know you as you are now. But for all I know and all I've seen, for all we've done and all we've been through, yes, you're my friend. Before I end this video, I would also like to recommend Yang Tzu's The Night Tiger if you're interested in reading about We're tigers, but in a darker murder mystery tone. And also, if you want to read legends and folklore from Southeast Asia, I would also recommend Nusantara by Heidi Samsudin, which is a compilation of these tales, as well as The Principal Girl Redux, which is a retelling of some folklore and legends. And they're very interesting. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.
I hope this book, in particular, among all my books, finds the readers who need it the most. And whether that's you or whether that's a child in your life, hell, whether it's somebody older than you who needs to learn how to process who needs an outlet for processing these emotions, I hope that this book finds them. I hope that you find what you're looking for from it.